Hey friends, it's Rachel
and Shira. Welcome to our Zoom Out podcast.
We're two close friends who love having honest, vulnerable conversations about life, healing, and all the messy, beautiful parts of being human.
We definitely don't have all the answers, but we have a deep desire to see life from a wider lens.
We're here to ask questions, share our stories along the way, be real with each other and with you.
So if you've ever felt like there's a bigger picture you're not always seeing, you're not alone.
Let's zoom out
together.
Hi friends. Last week on the podcast, we were talking about healing our inner child. And it's such a special topic for Shira and I, just because we talk about it a lot. But today we're really excited because it's kind of like a part 2 to the series. And essentially we'll be talking about the one where we embrace your inner child.
And I feel like this is so important because, and the order in which we did it, which is first acknowledging your inner child and then being able to embrace other people's. Like the first step is to embrace yours, and then you can look outwards and it'll be easier for you to identify other people's, and then that will make it easier for you to interact with people.
Yeah, so the idea is like, now that we're conscious that we all have an inner child inside of us, specifically first our own, like what you're saying, now we can ask the question, what about everyone else's inner child?
Yeah.
And I feel like the key to relationships, as Shira and I are just discovering life, right, is understanding and compassion. And we just think that this is such a powerful tool to use to better our relationships with the people around us.
Yeah.
So I can say, for example, like, what does this all even mean? Let me give an example. So I have a friend who I feel sometimes will just kind of check in on me or give me things for the purpose of me to really check in on her. And a lot of times that really bothers me, and I find myself judging her a lot of times because it feels just a little selfish in some ways, right? Like I just, in my head, I'm like, oh, I know that the only reason you're checking in on me is because you want me to check in on you. But then I kind of pause because I don't want to judge others, right? Like that's not the goal here. But I kind of sometimes I catch myself pausing and thinking like, okay, well, if I'm gonna picture her as a 5-year-old child, because we all have one inside of us, I just see her as a 5-year-old that just wants love and attention and validation, right? And I feel like when I can kind of change my viewpoint on this friend or even any other person in my life, when I can change this viewpoint of like seeing her as a 5-year-old kid, it helps me realize like, okay, it's just a child asking me for some attention,
right? And
not in a way to make her, not to put anyone down like, oh, she's just a kid, but like, no, she's just a kid. We all just have a kid inside of us that just wants to be seen.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it really helps when you see that. It also helps, like, for me, let's say, like, not to hold on to resentment from people. Like, let's say people that I'm not even, like, friends with right now. Just looking back at those situations or friendships, it's easier to look through that lens and then not to hold on to like anger, because you're just like, okay, like you kind of understand. And I just want to make a disclaimer, because that's not everything we're saying right now about identifying other people's inner child, looking at it with a more understanding lens. It doesn't mean that, you know, it excuses anything that they do to you,
right,
or any like wrong things they've done.
There's this saying I saw, sorry not to cut you off. There's this saying I saw that just so exactly what you're talking about is like, all feelings are valid, all behaviors are not.
Exactly. That's like an important thing to keep in mind. Like, you're not supposed to just brush off everything and be like, okay, I understand them because in their childhood they went through this, or they had this experience, and then that's why they're acting like that. It's more for you, just again, like, not to hold on to resentment, or to just try to be a more understanding and kind person. But again, we've spoken about boundaries, and that's also important.
Boundaries are so big. And I really love the word that you say, lens, because I think that's a really big just important thing to realize is, like we were saying this on one of the other episodes, like life is all about perspective, and every single person comes in with their own lens, their own, let's say, pair of glasses, and those glasses contain their fears and their insecurities and their childhood trauma. And just because you understand why someone does a certain behavior doesn't justify the behavior.
Right. And that's what this whole podcast is about. It's not about like changing
Other people.
Changing necessarily how you feel. It's more changing how you look at situations and changing how you view people. And then by default, obviously, that will help change your reactions, make things more positive. But it's just like it's very subtle perspective shift that makes all the difference. That's what I think this podcast is all about.
100%. It's all about perspective shifts and just trying to meet people and ourselves in a more compassionate way.
Yes.
Because it's like the question that Shira and I ask is like, imagine if every single person in this world saw each other as their 5-year-old version of ourselves. Like, how much more of a world would we be like, how much better of a world it would be, you know? We'd be more compassionate towards each other, we'd be more patient towards each other. And again, what you're saying, it's like, it's not to justify behavior, but if I know why my friend is reaching out, even though I know it might be just because she wants me to reach out to her, I can come in way more compassionately, and I can even come in like calmer and be like, okay, like, is there something that you want to share? You know, I want to hold space for you, rather than just kind of sitting here judging her and being like, yeah, I'm good, how are you? You know, and like not really meaning it.
Yeah. And it, like, that also, it helps you approach people more compassionately and like with more sensitivity to their experiences. But also it helps you not, like, let's say you're more aware of people's inner child, it helps you not find yourself in situations that you've been in before that ended up being negative, because you're able to identify I don't know, you're more able to identify like their triggers and their things. So
is there a specific example you're thinking of?
Yeah.
Tell us, share with us.
No, I mentioned it before, but I had a friendship that was very toxic, and I don't place the blame on anybody specifically. And for so many years, I've held on to like anger and resentment, and mostly, honestly, anger at myself that I put myself in that situation. But I feel like doing the inner work and just embracing my inner child, her inner child, it's easier to just let it go and not be mad. And I just want to say, like, now I'm able to see that person and we're totally fine. Like, we give each other a hug, like, it's good. And I really don't think she's a bad person or any of us are a bad person, but I just think, like, that situation taught me so much, and I'll probably keep mentioning it because it's been, I think I've said this in the previous episode, but it's been such a transformative situation in my life that like affected so many things. But yeah, like, also in addition to like not holding resentment towards her or myself, I've also been able to like not put myself in those kind of situations anymore, be more aware, recognize people's patterns, and
I think a huge part of what you're saying is the fact that after this, because all relationships are just like, all experiences are such lessons for us, right, to learn about ourselves. But I feel like you just said such a big point of, you recognize like the toxic patterns in this relationship, and you stopped kind of attracting that in your life. And I think a huge part of that is, as we are embracing our inner child and other people's inner child, it's like we're learning our own needs.
You're right. And it goes back to like self-love. Like, I always, like, I mentioned this before, like we spoke about this, how we always wanted like external validation, and then I got that, but too much, and that's not and then you realize that you don't want that either, you know. You don't want someone who's like
overwhelming
or codependent. So and that all comes with like recognizing your worth and not like needing it from other people.
I also think it's like, it's not even about, we're not perfect, right? Like, we're all human. I don't mean just me and Shira. I think just as human in general, Shira and I as well. But I think, right, all humans, like, we're not perfect, but we're trying to be better, right? We're not trying to be perfect, but we're trying to be better. And I think that the more we can be reflective of our own needs and our own inner child of like, okay, what did that little girl or little boy not get as a kid? That clearly she or he is looking for as an adult, right? Because childhood is such a huge developmental part of just who we are as humans. And like, you know how they always say, psychologists, the relationships that you, like, what you didn't get as a child is what you look for in your adult relationships. So it's not even about like being this most perfect self and changing everything who you are and meeting all your needs. But even if you're 5% a little bit more compassionate and 5% a little bit more understanding of yourself and what you need and what you're looking for in relationships, and being able to have that same lens for other people, I think that that already is a huge stepping stone.
Yes.
Because it's not really about like going from 0 to 100. I really think as humans, the hard part of life, at least for me, what I struggle with is like being okay in the process of things.
I think we all struggle.
Right?
That,
like,
yeah.
I just have, sometimes I have no patience and I just want to be from like 0 to 100. I'm sure everyone can relate to that. And I think there's such a beauty in just recognizing that the little steps and the little things and just doing 5% more of your goals, like 5% more vulnerable, 5% more compassionate, that's going to take you so far, you know?
Right.
And it's going to be real and it's going to be each way. So it's like another part of the whole embracing your inner child I really like to apply is the idea of like our parents.
Yeah, I was just about to bring that up.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I've had, and we're going to talk a lot about this on the podcast because I think relationships is such a huge topic, and it's such an umbrella. Like, there's so many like subcategories to relationships in so many different ways. But at the end of the day, I think Shira and I, like, the whole point of this podcast is to bring it back to you, because you can't change others. And if you're in the business of changing others, let me tell you, you're in the wrong business. You are not going to succeed in that business.
Oh my God.
Right? Like,
I've spent years trying to like
change other
change
people.
other people.
Same. Or other people's habits or other people's perspectives. And all you can do is just change yourself and focus on you and ask yourself, like, I have a friend who, we'll talk about relationships and parent relationships in a different episode, but just really quick, like, I had a friend who was struggling with their relationship with their mom and asking me questions because I struggled with my relationship with my mom. And when I say struggled, I just mean had a lot of work around it. And now we're in such a good place and I'm so beyond grateful and happy about it. But she was asking me just, you know, what do I do if my mom is like this and she's not meeting my needs? Even as an adult, by the way, this, you know, and I just told her, I said, listen, you can't change your mom, unfortunately. You can't change your family, but
can't change anybody.
You can't change anybody, exactly. But I just kept asking her, like, who do you want to be and how do you want to show up as in this world? Because at the end of the day, and we're talking about this with vulnerability, like, when you break yourselves open, you give people the power to, for them to do that as well, for them to break themselves open. So I think it's just when you become a better version of you, you give other people that, what's the word? Like that viewpoint. You give other people that awareness that they can do that as well. So anyways, about relationships with our parents, like, I think we all, in one way or another, struggle with our relationship with our parents. And I think, especially as adults who want to do the self-healing, I think a lot of it is like, one way or another, we're holding on to pain or resentment towards our parents of like not meeting our needs as a kid.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. 100%. Like, yeah.
Like, for me, I mentioned this on the other podcast, like, I didn't always get my emotional needs met. And that was a huge struggle for me because thank God I have a beautiful family and my parents always met my physical needs. And it's not like they didn't meet any emotional needs, but I just really walked away as a kid into adulthood with this baggage of not really feeling emotionally met.
Yeah.
You know? And I feel like
I think everyone's had like a certain experience of that,
right? Like childhood trauma is real.
Of your relationship with your parents, it could be amazing. You know, everyone has had moments that they felt that their emotional needs weren't met as a child.
100%. And it could be not just towards parents, it could be siblings or like anybody in your childhood. But anyways, like with parents specifically, I think for me at least, a huge turning point in my healing, in my relationship with my parents, was really recognizing as I'm doing my own inner child healing, like, and I'm embracing other people's, like, wait, what about my parents?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
Because I think it's really
That's
different.
like
yeah,
the most important almost, because they're like the constant people in your life, and
it's like the first relationship that you really have.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And the same way, like we talk about our emotional needs being met as a child, like we have to recognize that our parents may have not gotten their emotional needs met as a child. And I guess our job as like this generation that's more conscious of like self-healing and just trying
being
to
aware.
be better, like I guess we're the ones that can break that cycle of it being like affecting generations and generations. But recognizing that does allow us to be more compassionate with our parents. And I don't know, like a simple thing that I do to like be more aware of it is just to ask questions about their childhood.
Oh my God, I love that. Positive curiosity.
Yeah, like to see where they come from, their experiences. Like we forget that our parents had a whole life, you know, before us. Like they were teenagers, they were kids, they
went through the same things.
Yeah, and I don't know, like for both my parents, my mom and my dad, like I don't know, I feel like when I got older and I realized that they're not perfect and they're just human, that's like was a huge shift, and it just made my relationship with them better. Like I would fight with my dad a lot when I was younger, and like my dad was like busy and like he always like gave us attention, helped us with homework, but he has a thing where he does where sometimes I'll talk to him and he'll be like I like you
not
know,
really paying attention,
like the dad thing.
yeah
But so that like I remember like bothered me, and like certain like little things,
yeah, because it's not meeting that need of
now I'm like more forgiving, and not even forgiving, like I realize where it comes from. I see that I do it sometimes too,
right?
And then I realize that we're all just human trying to make it. They're trying to give us for me, I know they tried to give us the best life, and they did. And yeah, just
they
to
still
give them
are.
grace. Yeah, they still are.
Yeah, I think it's all goes back to like meeting people, including ourselves, with grace. Like for my mom, I just always felt like not emotionally met enough. And when I started, like what you were saying, like kind of understanding her childhood more and asking questions and kind of like really just kind of diving into what her dynamics in her childhood were like with her parents, with her siblings even, and realizing that my mom had a rough childhood, and like she grew up in the streets of Brooklyn, New York in the 60s, you know, like it wasn't easy. Her parents were Holocaust survivors, like had a pretty traumatizing childhood. And then when I get that picture and I kind of go back to me as a kid feeling those feelings, which this isn't to say like my feelings don't matter, and to negate, right? Like
again, like I want to make that disclaimer again.
Very
like,
clear.
If anyone has had, I know not all childhoods are perfect. I know some people have really bad childhoods and there's abuse.
Yeah.
So that's not to say that your feelings are not valid and that your parents are right.
Right. It's not justifiable.
Just a lens for you to make it better for you to heal. But yeah, just wanted to say that. Yeah. Anyways, continue.
No, yeah. So I just, the more that I really understood how my mom grew up and what her dynamics were in her childhood, and things that I'm like so shocked I didn't know, you know, growing up, but happy that she shielded me and you know, my brothers and I from it. I realized, oh my gosh, like I just had this huge revelation within myself of like, oh my God, like I'm out here judging my mom for not being maybe the softest version of her that I would want, or the most emotionally available, you know, person that I would want in my relationship with my mom. But then realizing how traumatizing her childhood was and how her needs were not being met, it was like so clear that she didn't have the tools in her toolbox to be that for me.
Mm-hmm.
But it kind of almost allowed me to like be free from that childhood pain.
Yeah.
And we'll talk more a little bit about the child, like, I mean, not a little, a lot, you know, just about childhood trauma and relationships. But it really just allowed me, once I understood her own needs weren't being met as a kid and having a hard childhood, I really understood, okay, there's a reason why she couldn't be exactly what I needed, you know, growing up. But
Right.
at the same time, I also believe that she was exactly what I needed, even not meeting my needs. Does that make sense?
Yes, 100%.
Like sometimes we need these relationships to show us more about ourselves. Like,
yeah.
I don't know, I feel like I really, really, really learn a lot from my relationship with my mom, but just in relationships in general. Like, my mom always says this, and I love this idea, but it's like everything is temporary in this world, in this life. It doesn't matter how much money you have, how many cars you own, how big your house is, or whatever. At the end of the day, the truth of life is that it really comes down to relationships.
Mm-hmm.
There even was, I'm probably going to quote this another time, but it's a very famous study from Harvard. I don't know if you've heard of this, but they like followed for like 50 years plus or something. They followed Harvard graduates up until they were like 80 years old or whatever. It was like a study, one of those psychological studies for like 50, 60 years. And essentially they were trying to figure out like, what is happiness? You know, like
Right.
how do people define happiness? And the answer at the end of the day was the quality of your relationships.
Yes.
And I think that's really huge. I think a lot of times we forget. We're like, people will ask us like, why should we do the work? You know, like,
And
why
I
should
think
I
it's
understand?
relationships with people and with things, you know?
Right. What do you mean by that?
Like, I feel like our life experience is all about how we project outwards and how we relate to money, how we relate to people, how we relate to situations. So, no, I just thought that was interesting because
Yeah.
I really think it's true. Like, happiness is all about the quality of our relationships with the world in general. And yeah.
I also think like when we embrace other people's inner child, including ourselves as well, like our ability for love, compassion, patience, all the things that we all want in this world, like expands majorly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we I feel like we just expand our ability for like love and acceptance.
Yeah,
You know?
100%. I think, yeah, it's just the lens. Just changing
It's just the lens. It's life is simple. It's just the lens.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we are going to get to our favorite part of each episode, which is the quote and question of the day. So the quote is, and this is directly from the Bible.
Yeah, and we've said this before, but
It's
such
so
a
good.
good quote.
And I think we're going to say this in a different lens as well, speaking
Yeah.
about lenses. In the Bible, it says, love your fellow as you love yourself. Love your fellow as you love yourself. And we're saying like the easiest way to do that is looking at other people, and instead of seeing their faults or their downfalls, let's say, we're looking deep into their inner child, seeing that we all just want like love, acceptance, to be heard, to be validated. And from that lens, it's so much easier to love other people. It's so much easier to come from compassion and understanding, even when they do mess up, you know, and being able to have those open and honest conversations. So we feel like that quote kind of just really sums up this episode, is like loving your neighbor as yourself.
Yes.
Being as acceptance and patient and compassionate with someone else like you would want someone to do to you as well.
Right.
And the question for
The
reflection
question of the day: who is someone in your life that you are quick to judge? View them as their 5-year-old self. How does seeing them through that lens change how you feel?
Oh my gosh, I can answer this one. I think that I struggle sometimes, as I mentioned, just because I'll see someone behaving not in the most appropriate way. And again, this doesn't justify their behavior in any way. But like, I know this guy that necessarily doesn't make the best choices, I think, when it comes to women and relationships. And just overall kind of walks around like with a chip on his shoulder. And it just always irks me. because I'm just kind of sitting here like judging him, like, who do you think you are? Like, why do you think you're better than everyone else? Like, it just bothers me when those people walk around. But I find myself in these moments just pausing and going, okay, like literally picture him like he's a 5-year-old and kind of view his actions. And again, this isn't to justify his actions, but it's just to help me stop being judgmental, because I don't want to be judgmental. It's not who I am. And I sound so judgmental on this podcast, I feel like, but I'm really not a judgmental person.
No, I think it's
and just human, you know, we judge the person next to us. But I've had many moments where I find myself judging him, where I just sit there and I pause. I even close my eyes and I'm like, okay, if I picture this man as a 5-year-old self, all I can see is that all he really wants is love and attention and validation. He just also has that need for external validation, like every other person that I know, including myself.
Right.
So just pausing and
no, but
breathing.
I love what you said about like it's not for them. It's not to like
it's not to justify them.
To justify them. It's for you to try to be a more compassionate person. And I think that's what this is all about. This is recognizing other people's inner child, being kind to other people. Okay, yes, like don't be selfish about it. Like it's not all for you, but I'm saying it's all part of your healing process. At the end of the day, it's all about your relationship with the world. So I liked what you said.
Thank you. And it's also just like, what is your goal? Like for me, I've been very clear that my goal in the last few years has been to be the softest version of myself. And soft doesn't mean weak. Soft doesn't mean letting people run over me and being a doormat. But soft to me just means like coming in more compassionately.
Yeah. And just not holding on to resentment.
Yeah.
I think I already said a lot.
We'll save more for the next episode. Well, anyways, thank you guys for listening. As always, we're so happy to have you all, and stay tuned.
Stay tuned, guys. See you.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us today.
We hope this conversation helped you feel a little bit more seen, a little less alone, and reminded you to take a step back and zoom out.
We're grateful to have you all along with us on this journey together.
Stay tuned for our next episode.
Bye, friends.